I sat down with my usual morning black coffee, ready for a quiet day, and 3 sentences later, there was a half-naked guy in swim trunks strolling past my window, carrying a flamingo float and a plate of nachos. My brain skipped a beat. I crept to the window and, yep, my backyard, my space, had turned into a full-blown pool party. Grills were smoking. Kids were screaming. Beach chairs scattered like they'd landed from outer space. And there was Karen, the HOA president, looking like she owned the place, mimosa in hand, waving me in like I'd RSVP'd. That was the moment I realized. Enough was enough. I was done playing nice. I live on the outskirts of Maple Ridge Estates. My house predates the HOA by 15 years. So I'm technically outside their rules physically and by deed. That's always been fine with me. Quiet mornings, private weekends. But today the HOA, the unofficial regime Karen runs, decided my yard was their next venue. And she treated it that way for weeks, renting it out, hosting strangers, collecting cash under the guise of community fun. That's entitlement on steroids. I stormed outside, barefoot, dodging water gun fire and some dude doing karaoke on the deck by my garage. I reached Karen atop one of my Adirondacks and said, voice tight, "What the hell are you doing?" She looked at me and tilted her head like I was the rude one. "Oh, honey, it's just a pop-up HOA pool party, part of our summer schedule. Your yard's the biggest, most shaded. We thought you'd be fine with it." "Fine? My fence, my fire pit, my trees, you trashed them." She claimed the cops were in the loop, but when I actually called them, the officers showed up 20 minutes later looking confused. Karen had told them the homeowners were out of town. I flashed my ID, explained the trespass. They said, "Talk to the HOA, maybe see a lawyer." And that was it. They left. I stood in my yard watching strangers swim in my grass. Children tracked mud on my newly sealed deck, and Karen laughing like she owned the world. Inside, my heart pounded. I pulled up my security feed, 2 cameras disabled, 1 tarp covered. My side gate locked with a bike chain. They boxed me in, held me hostage in my own home while they partied in my yard. That's when I noticed my septic system, the upgraded overflow I'd built, read 60% capacity already. Someone had messed with the redirection pipe. My automatic backup was primed, diverted, but directed straight to the party zone if triggered. It felt like fate handing me a weapon, but I hesitated, nervous I'd crossed the line I swore never to cross. Still, I set up GoPros by the bird feeder, barn window, septic vent, all ready to document anything. I screenshotted the Airbnb-style listing, saved the guest list, downloaded the rental site comments, asked about hidden hose access. One review said, "Karen was renting my yard for cash, lying to cops, disabling cameras." This wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a scam. I sat on the sofa, fingers hovering over the manual overflow button on my tablet. Activate Septic Overflow. One tap could ruin the party. But that button could also ruin me. Legal trouble, environmental code violations, backlash. But the crowd in my backyard was trampling and polluting my land uninvited. And they'd done it before, again and again, in my yard, with my stuff, for their clicks and profit. My finger pressed confirm. The light blinked green. The system started its slow leak. First a whisper, a murmur of water. The DJ's beat masked it. But soon a whiff, a sour, rotten stench. The kids squirmed mid-dance. Adults gagged. One teen stepped in ankle-deep muck and kicked it off like it was lava. I watched from the glass as the inflatable pool began to shudder. The soil turned sludge brown. The smell rippled outward and panic set in. Parents scooped kids and fled. Grilling equipment got abandoned. Chairs flipped. A mom screamed that her white shorts were ruined. Karen laughed at first, then froze when she felt the muck under her wedge sandal. She tumbled, face first, into the now contaminated pool. Mascara running, dress soaked. Nobody helped her. The DJ ripped cords from speakers. They sparked, and he stumbled into the mess. People screamed, "Call the cops," and scrambled to their cars. I stepped outside in rubber boots, picked a terrified kid out of a plastic playhouse stuck in the sludge, calmly set him down in mom's arms. No fanfare. Then I tapped close valve on the app. Flow stopped. The worst was done, but the chaos lay thick. Karen stood ankle-deep in mud, mascara smeared, cash-filled envelope in hand, her empire collapsing. She pounded the back door, screaming for me to open it so she could get her story straight. I didn't budge. I stared through the glass, one eyebrow raised, and allowed one small, quiet reply. You committed fraud, trespassing, theft, and endangered children. But sure, bring on the fines. Then I walked back inside. Next morning, my yard was a mess. Footprints, pool parts flattened, soggy sunglasses, and toys scattered. The stench lingered like punishment, and it wouldn't wash off so quick. Around noon, I found an HOA printed letter in my box. $5. 000 fine for deliberate public health violation. I laughed. Sabotage? You mean exposing your scam? I spent hours compiling proof. Rental listing screenshots, camera footage, timestamped video. Photos of tampered piping. My deed showing my house was exempt from HOA rules. I left it neatly bound with a cover note for every board member. That evening, Board VP Rick, who's not a Karen, came by. Scanning the wreckage with wide-eyed disbelief. I can't believe she did this, he said. Then he pulled out a flash drive of meeting audio where Karen admitted the party scam was her idea, falsely saying she had permission. Red-handed, he told me she'd used HOA funds for speakers and porta-potties that became profit tools, covering her tracks until now. People were furious. Next day, a zoning officer showed up, clipboard in hand. I answered questions, showed permits for my septic, explained the redirection sabotage. She inspected, took notes, then said, "This is the cleanest septic setup I've ever seen. You're not at fault." She recommended I report the HOA to the county. Boom. Later that day, local authorities and media crews pulled into Karen's driveway, investigating her misuse of community funds, illegal rentals, and fake parties. The headline went viral. HOA president's backyard cash party goes down the drain. Even national shows lapped it up. Karen was that meme, drenched, covered in sludge, earnestly clutching a mimosa. Within days, HOA held emergency meetings. Several members called for her resignation, others demanded refunds. I turned in formal complaints to the state HOA oversight and small claims court for damages and cleanup costs. Then I discovered line item abuse. She'd billed HOA ads to promote her backyard rentals. Illegal. That sealed it. The HOA suspended her, revoked access, installed interim leadership, and apologized. Karen screamed defamation, called it a witch hunt. Threatened lawsuits, but her base evaporated. Authorities issued citations for her unpermitted landscaping and faulty driveway. In one classic moment, she staged a press conference alone on her front walk. In mid-speech, the sprinkler system flooded her again, podium toppled, mic down, and she fled. Silent crowd. My yard? Pressure-washed, soil-treated, grass-seeded. The septic system got a biometric lock and a sign, private property. Rental listings will be flushed. Neighbors waved, brought pies, whiskey. Even kid-drawn cartoons of Karen falling into a septic pool. Her house stayed on the market. Paint cracked, lawn dead. She peeped from behind curtains like a defeated ghost. Soon a producer called about featuring my story. I declined. This wasn't a show. It was a boundary. A few days later, I got an anonymous, threatening letter. People like you get what's coming. No signature. I reported it. Rick told me they'd beef up neighborhood security. Fine. Some wounds can't heal quickly, but I wasn't scared. A week later, I hosted a barbecue. No pretension, just neighbors. Kids, guitar music. Kids chased frisbees on fresh grass. People thanked me for standing up, for giving them courage. They shared their own HOA horror tales. It felt like real community again. Reclaimed from entitlement. I never sought power. I just drew a line. I handed Rick advice for rewriting bylaws, more transparency, caps on personal use of HOA funds. He became interim president. He and the board sent me a check, partial cleanup reimbursement, and a formal apology that I wasn't under HOA rules. That was enough. Things returned to quiet. Fewer petty complaints at meetings. More talk of landscaping, painting, fixing sidewalks. Karen's voice faded. New owners moved in, fresh paint, fresh hope. They stopped by once. We swapped a few tips. I never mentioned the overflow button. Some secrets are best left buried. Life returned to normal, quiet, respectful, neighborly. Sometimes I walk past that gate and smile, because that one button, one decision, showed me the power of boundaries. And maybe even septic-powered justice is sometimes exactly what a community needs. So now I ask you, have you faced your own Karen? Someone who thinks rules don't apply to them, who bends power for profit or control. Share your story below. How did you set a boundary, stand up, or rebuild after entitlement tore things apart. Because if there's one thing I learned, it's that quiet people setting boundaries can change everything.